the domestic division of labour and power relationships. So domestic division of labour, so there's a few key concepts we need to go through here. So first of all is gender roles. So these are the patterns of behaviour that we would expect of an individual, regardless of their sex, so male and female roles. Domestic labour refers to housework. So it's cooking, it's cleaning, it's childcare, it's work taken within the home. It's often unpaid. Domestic division of labour, or DDOL as we refer to it, is the way these roles are divided up. So these can be done in different ways. So conjugal roles is another way to talk about DDOL or domestic roles. And these can be either joint roles, where both partners will take equal shares or be involved in them, or segregated roles, where they take different roles within the home. Now we're going to look at this in two ways. We're going to look at domestic division of labour, and we're also going to separately look at power relationships. So when it comes to DDOL, arguments to show that domestic division of labour is unequal come from Parsons. Now Parsons said that domestic division of labour is unequal, that we have segregated or should have segregated conjugal roles, that men and women have different responsibilities. Men have the instrumental role, which is paid work. Women have the expressive role, which is housework. Now, again, this is divided, but in Parsons' view, this was normal, it was natural, it was biological. Oakley criticised Parsons, as well as other theories we've seen later, highlighting that women have a dual burden. Women have taken on paid work, and they also still have the responsibility for childcare. This is all linked to patriarchal oppression of women, stereotypes and inequalities in society. This unequal relationship is unfair. And we also have Duncan and Marsden. Now they talk about the triple shift and emotion work. It's effectively Oakley plus one. So Oakley plus emotion work. So paid work, housework, and family responsibilities. In terms of it changing, becoming equal, we've got Guernsey. Now Guernsey talks about lagged adaptation. So as women enter paid work on a grander scale and are doing more hours in paid work, men will start to pick up more housework, and it's a delayed response. So the lagged adaptation. Men will adapt and do more housework, but it's a delayed process. But it shows equality growing. Silver and Score talk about commercialization of the housewife role. So housework has been taken over by technology. Hoovers, cookers, cleaners, that's doing the work. So it's easier to do housework because most of the heavy work is done by machines. And the Future Foundation study found that 60% of men do more than their fathers did, and 70% of women do less than their mothers did. So there's been this change, this growing equality. And then in the arguments that DDOL is equal, we've got Wilmot and Young, who talks about joint conjugal roles, the growth of symmetrical families, development of the new man, dual worker families. So this shows equality. We also see Dunn, who talks about gender scripts and how there was negotiation and equality in relationships, but really it was only same-sex couples. So it shows gender equality and DUO equality in same-sex couples, but not necessarily in heterosexual couples. Smart and Neal talked about domestic division labour becoming fluid, negotiated, and we were able to pick and mix those. So again, all highlighting change is happening. And globalisation, so the outsourcing of domestic work to cleaners, gardeners, chefs. So the domestic religion is an odd one of saying it's equal because you're outsourcing the work to someone else. Now, in terms of power remaining unequal, we've got Dobash and Dobash who talk about violence against whites. So from the feminist perspective that they take, domestic violence is a form of patriarchal aggression and is a way of men asserting their power over women. Donovan talks about domestic violence within same-sex couples. So again, domestic violence happens within same-sex couples as well, just as it would in heterosexual couples. And it does highlight, interestingly, that it's a material element. Money is often a key factor in violence. So it highlights inequality when domestic violence occurs, but it may not necessarily be down to gender. And then we've got Edgell, decision making. Edgell talks about how men made the most important decisions, women made the least important decisions. And again, a lot of this came to money. Now, we could suggest as society developed and changed and progressed, women have gained more power in employment. That means more money they bring into the home, and they have more power in making decisions. Power changing, we've got Fallon Vogler, who talked about in the past we had an allowance system, men giving their women or wives an allowance, and then this has changed to pooling, where couples pool their money together. We've also seen changing patterns, so the growth of cohabiting couples, which has a greater sense of equality compared to traditional married couples. As this is growing, it's showing that there's a change, but also traditional families and traditional married couples still to make up a majority of family types. And then lastly, power being equal. The Weeks, building on from Falavoga, talk about how couples have co-independence. They pool their resources, but also maintain their independent source of income, which protects themselves and maintains their power. And there we have it, domestic division of labour and power relations.